Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. My brother, Johan, and his wife Kelly own a pretty big house just down the street from the apartment where me and my mom live. They got 2 adorable kids, 1 and 3, but since Johan and Kelly worked full-time, Mom volunteered herself and me to babysit, dog sit, house sit, etc. Mom is retired and I just finished university, now focusing on my freelance work as an illustrator. I can just bring my laptop and graphic tablet to Johan's place, so it works out. To be honest, I don't get nearly as much work done at Johan's as I would like. I always get interrupted because the kids need attention or there's a chore to do. Mom would do the chores, but I spare her the work. I typically wash the dishes, clean every mess the kids make, tidy up the place, do the laundry, anything that needs to be done, besides cooking and buying groceries. Mom and I sometimes spend the night, and we eat dinner at Johan's place almost every day. Well, Kelly has this e-commerce project and she wants her own website. She's a secretary, so she doesn't have experience running a business. But of course I support her. Johan can code, so he's been working on her thing for a while. And they asked me to draw a logo for them, which I did for free because my family asked. But then Kelly came to me with a shitload of requests, and turns out she expected me to do all the graphic design of her whole website, including a unique cartoon illustration for every single product she plans to sell, all for free. I tried to explain that I have little experience doing graphic design, so they should hire a pro, and that her project would require dozens or even hundreds of hours. And even if I were to accept it, I would only be able to work on it when all my paid work was done, so they wouldn't see any of it before months or years. I said if they really wanted me to do it, they would have to actually hire and pay me for full-time work, and I'm not cheap. Kelly was disappointed but accepted it, but Johan pulled me aside and told me a new one. "We don't make relatives pay for doing favors," he said. "I never asked you to pay me for living in my house and eating my food every day." I got super mad because I feel like without me, they would do a ton more chores and might have to hire a full-time maid or nanny or send their kids to daycare. And I don't eat more than a couple euros worth of food per day. I feel like they should be paying me in the first place for doing so much work for them. But I didn't really manage to express all that besides being pissed off and saying, "Well, if it bothers you so much, I'll stop eating your food." I stormed out and Johan, Mom, and our other brother, who doesn't live with us, reached out to tell me I made a scene, to go back and to stop acting like a spoiled child. I don't think I was out of line. Do you? Not the a-hole OP. This is gaslighting. Tell your brother to look up the cost of childcare and a maid and see if it compares to the food you eat. Then stay home and work on your career. They have become accustomed to using you. They don't value your time or your own work. Stop being a doormat. Why does your brother think you owe him free daycare, maid services, and website building? You have been helping and he's not appreciative. He acts like he's entitled to it. Just say you are building your own business and can buy your own food at your home. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. They see your time at their place as doing you a favor. You see it as the reverse. So the solution is to stop. Communicate that calmly. Say you thought you were doing them a favor by helping to watch their kids and doing chores around the house. But it's true you've been eating their food, so you will eat at your own place from now on. Not the a-hole, not the a-hole, and not the a-hole. Don't do the website work, not even if she offers to pay you. It would become a freaking nightmare of a job. It will always not be enough. She'll complain about every design and expect you to redo everything for free. You didn't do it right the first time. I'm not going to pay you to correct your errors. Do they pay you for babysitting? If not, Johan is so far out of line for expecting you to do all this work for free. If I were you, I would seriously reconsider whether you continue to babysit anymore. Not the a-hole. My partner and I both have work, and I have 2 kids. I cannot imagine having someone coming in to babysit and do chores at my house for free. Feeding you and your mom is not payment. It's the bare minimum. You do it for someone who is helping you. These people are taking advantage of you and your mom. it's fine if your newly retired mom wants to help out, but that shouldn't mean that they get to expect the same from you. You need a chance to build your own life and career, like your brother has. Not support his life at the expense of your own. Besides, anyone who works in any sort of production should understand that paid work comes first. If they want that design work done, they can pay you for it. Good luck. This is a cruddy situation. Story 2. I, 25 female, currently rent out a 3-bedroom house to my little brother, 20 male, who has a 2-year-old and is expecting another baby in April. A few weeks ago, he told me about some water damage, and when I came over to look, I discovered that we are going to have to completely redo the floors and possibly put in new windows. When I moved out of the house and let him move in, there was some less than perfect carpet. When I went in to check on the water damage, the carpet was seriously awful. They have 2 dogs which they claim are potty trained, but based on the stains, puppy pads and smell, I'm gonna say that they aren't. First of all, I don't want to redo the floors with a pregnant girl in the house and my niece running around. I worry about fumes and nails and stuff like that. So my original intention was to ask them if they could stay with his dad or someone while I get it all fixed. Then I had a thought. I don't want to spend a bunch of money on a new floor just for them to come back in and ruin it. It's also not just the house. They ripped up my flower beds. They have junk piled outside the carport. They painted 2 rooms without asking me. Now, I know they don't want to stay there forever. They don't even want to buy it from me. But I'm ready to sell this house, or at least charge more to rent it, like double. And I have a lot to do before it will be ready for that. This is almost the perfect opportunity to be able to do that. My mom, however, thinks it's rude of me to ask them to move out. She says that she's afraid that they won't have anywhere to go, despite the fact that his dad literally does anything he asks, and that they can't afford that right now. Bear in mind that my brother works for his dad, gets paid under the table really well, and just bought a couple $1,000 engagement ring for his girlfriend. They easily qualify for government housing and would even be paying less than what they pay to rent from me now. I want them out in the nicest way possible, and I'm willing to help them find somewhere or give them money. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, OP, so long as you follow the proper eviction process, unless this is just a family understanding, in which case, yeah, boot them. You threw them a bone, are charging half off rent, and they still seem to not respect boundaries with the dogs running amok and painting the rooms without your knowledge. Also, why do they even have dogs? Dogs plural. Having a second kid on the way isn't enough. They need their priorities in order. They seem like they're trying to take advantage of your empathetic side by assuming they can get away with whatever they want without getting kicked out, because they have a kid and one coming. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole, but you need to play this like a real landlord, not a family member. Are they under a lease? If they are, have they broken the lease? If they haven't broken the lease, you can pay them to break the lease. It's called cash for keys. People do it all of the time when they want to sell their rentals. Leased tenants carry over to new owners, so it can be hard to sell. If they are not under a lease, are they considered month to month? What is in the lease and the local law about notifying them to move out? It could be 30, 60 or 90 days. If the law says 60 but the lease says 30, then the law wins. Notify them by registered mail that they need to move out in X amount of days. Be professional. Tell them it's nothing personal, but the house needs some work. Ignore everyone else. Not the a-hole. As someone who manages my family's rental property, I have some tips. Maybe asking them to move out would cause family conflict. What I would suggest doing is raise their rent. You mentioned you want to sell or rent it for more. Raise their rent. If they ask why, simply say that you've been considering selling or raising rent for a while, as the rent is so low. He will either pay up or move out. Either would be a win for you. Depending on where you are located, you might need to give 60 days notice if the rent increase is over a certain percentage. As for the junk, you could ask him to remove those things, saying property insurance did a walkthrough and won't do coverage unless the junk was cleared up, as it could be a liability that it encourages a possible break-in or is a fire hazard. Unless you give them 3 months notice of intention to sell, it's your property and you can sell it whenever you want, so long as they give the correct notice. If after 3 months the tenants have not found new accommodation, then you can start eviction proceedings. The only way they can lay claim to the property is by claiming squatters' rights. In that case, they can't be evicted if at least one of them is on the property when you arrive. But if both of them are working, you wait till they both leave for work. You go in, change the locks and put their stuff on the pavement. That's all legal and above board. But it's an extreme measure and takes at least 6 months to a year. If reasonable and extensive work needs to be carried out, it is not beyond the landlord's power to ask the tenant to seek alternative accommodation for the duration of the rework, and is under no obligation to let them resume their tenancy once the work is complete. But I'm gonna go out on a limb here and guess that the tenancy is a casual agreement between siblings with no formal contract, in which case she has every right to tell her brother to get the F out of her house.